There you go.
Okay. Well, it's a bit late me telling her, wasn't it? I think I did mention it, but anyway, I obviously didn't in time. She's very excited about it.
Good. Like it's excitement. So
you mentioned, Ken, you thought we ought to add a bit, half an hour to each of the sessions.
yeah, what was your thoughts?
Well, I said that at the beginning, but to be honest, for the smaller clubs, we might not need, I don't know. We just don't know what it's going to be like when they're actually there, if in fact they come.
If we allow for it,
Yeah.
and if we don't use it, then that's different.
So is that us allowing for it, or letting them that we allow know that we are allowing for it?
I think so. Thinking out loud, if we allow it and they get to escape early, it's a bonus.
It is, isn't it? Good. So can we just, so that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet, we have agreement from Nitesh that he is going to support the pilot.
Indeed.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Nitesh just as he was going to depart. And Ken may be more up to date than myself, but my last conversation with Nitesh, it was literally the day before he left. He has no problem with the principle, the concept of what we're doing, totally supportive, but he won't commit to anything beyond the pilot. So my understanding is that he will support the going ahead with the pilot at the board on the 15th of August.
That's brilliant. And Amanda will support it too.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a vote, I know, but she does have a way of making known to the board what her thoughts are.
What Nitesh will say is that he won't make any judgment on what goes beyond the pilot until we've had some robust data generated by the pilot and we can see whether that is useful. So that's fair enough.
Well, why have a pilot if you're not going to
exactly
yeah.
exactly
you know, that's how you do things.
Exactly. Yeah.
I have no problems with that. In fact, I think we've come a long way in a short time, to be honest, from the if you see what the minutes are that are written up in the board that is what I was supposed to be speaking about. I don't know where they came from, but they certainly weren't anything to do with what I said. So we've moved on.
So I think we have to assume that the board will, these are probably fair, I might live to regret these words, but let us assume that the board is going to endorse this pilot on the 15th of August. We need to start doing some serious planning of logistics before the 15th of August.
Which is what Anne is keen to do.
Yeah.
I had a chat last night, yesterday with Ingrid, who was my contact on the regional council for Zone 8. And I know she had quite a chat with Nitesh when they were over. In fact, the board actually gave me some sponsorship money to go to Melbourne and to make these arrangements, which lasted, I think. Anyway, we won't go into all that. One of the things that I found very interesting for this pilot is that they have a much stronger guidance from RI than we have. So the steering group was actually chosen by RI, not by people. They have a business case that looks absolutely nothing like ours because it doesn't have hardly any KPIs. In fact, it doesn't mention the word KPIs. And yet Richard Polknick, who was the manager for us is also the project manager for them. Found that very, very interesting.
Isn't it?
So I don't know how, obviously this is between the three of us, I guess, at this stage, although Amanda was very pleased that I was carrying on talking to Ingrid.
I've had a look at the Zone 8 stuff, and I was speaking with Andy and dinner with Andy Rajapakse in Singapore, and the way they seem to be tackling it is very, very different and much more focused on the club.
Yeah.
Driving the clubs forward in lots of ways, as well as the structure of who's no longer there. It's AGs
have gone.
Yeah. It's really interesting. That doesn't surprise me, because I was at a Zoom Institute. There was the one that was in Amsterdam, and an RI person speaking at that said something very similar, and then that's got to be 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
In fact, it was DGs they were going to get rid of.
Well, in fact, the name DG is still being used in Zone 8, but they are not. They've not got the. Well, in fact, they got rid of them really in terms of their role.
Yeah. That became very apparent at International Assembly.
Yeah.
That their role is very, very different from ours.
So the bit that I thought was really interesting for this pilot is that in some ways we have much more freedom to do things than Zone 8 does. And in fact, I just find the whole role of Michelle Berg really interesting in this, because she obviously sits on the board of both of them, or is very controlling of both of them. But one of the things I thought we might think about was SWAT teams. And I'm looking at you, Ken, here, because depending on the data we get through, building SWAT teams might not be a bad idea, might it?
Have you seen my plan?
No, but you and I often have similar ideas.
So I was actually drafting an agenda for the district membership leads, a face-to-face, which I think I've got Amanda on board for, and it's that's in my plan. I'm going to give them an open heading and get them to develop the plan, so they seem to own it. But that's exactly one of the things in there.
So is that SWAT teams that can come in and help clubs that are in difficulty, or districts that are in difficulty?
I was thinking more of clubs.
Ah, good, because I was going to say that's where I think that's where the member-centric bit comes in, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to be at clubs, because I'm not good there. It has to be at clubs.
Yes, yeah, and we all know why you're saying that.
And one of the things I was thinking about was, in Rotary Club Central, there's a way of ranking clubs, and they've got a 1 to 5 star.
Yeah.
That the clubs don't get to see, but nobody ever fills in. And we were thinking we would maybe redefine what the 1 star and what the 5 star is.
That's what it needs.
Oh, I'm very pleased to hear that. I did this as AG for years, and it's very difficult to slot clubs into those as they're defined.
I think Rotary Club Central used to enable you to do that, didn't it?
Yeah, and a 1 star is just a complete lost cause, and a 5 star is, can everybody go and see what they do?
Yeah.
And there's somewhere in the middle, there's clubs that need support. And some of my team were saying, well, clubs with 10 or less. I says, no, not necessarily. It's clubs that want to change, and what Zone 8 are doing is they will only help them if the continuity team sign onto it for 3 years. So I was actually going to drop a note to Andy and see him get a copy of the agreement. And they're currently asking for clubs to nominate themselves for that support. And they're doing 100 of them.
Yes, yeah, I've got that 100 clubs rejuvenating and people
Yeah.
coming in to support the clubs.
Yeah, now that's only for a district for us.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is the training that's going to be different as a result.
Yeah.
And I really, really hope the outcome of this is going to be more training. No, not more training. Different training.
You mean
Right.
learning?
Do you know there is a time when didactic is a good idea.
Yeah.
Listening is very important, but sometimes gentle encouragement is useful as well.
Absolutely.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's so nice working with you two. Amanda has completely rewritten what she wants to do for training in the next few years. I don't think it's the one the board looked at, but never mind. And she sent it through to me and to Debbie, and I was surprised she included me as well, but she puts me in there as lead for Gets and Gents. So to work with incoming director Harriet on it as well. So I really don't know where I am.
And the best of luck with that one.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah. So also the way that their steering group was put together, they were actually chosen by RI. And they have, as I understand it, and Ken, I must admit, I haven't had a chance because it only happened yesterday. I haven't had a chance to look on their website. But as I understand it, there are 3 different things. They've got the regional council like we have.
Mm-hmm.
They've still got, although it has changed slightly, the project team.
Okay.
But of course, they haven't got the SATs because the SATs for them are still RI.
So they don't have the coordinators as such?
They have the coordinators,
Okay.
but the coordinators are appointed by RI.
Indeed, yes. Yes, yes.
Which is interesting. So it was a really good chat, and we're meeting again at the end of the month. So I just wish I fitted into a box somewhere, but never mind. I shall just carry on until someone says no. The SWAT teams, then, to be honest, we're all on the same page for that as well. But the difference, I think, is that we're asking them what they want rather than saying this is what we will do for you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no point having the conversations with them.
I think it's the same, but it's how you sell the story, isn't it?
It is. But
because we were looking through our membership plan. We had a face-to-face last week, and we talked about how do we get the membership leads on board. And quite honestly, if we put down the headings, we need new clubs, we need to retain, etc. They're going to come up with the same headings as us anyway.
Yeah. I don't think they would, you know. I think if you really ask them to sit down and do it, I've been doing a little bit of I keep using my club now. We've recruited 2 people this week, by the way.
Yeah.
And we're in line to get another corporate. But there we go. I asked how many of them had read the magazine.
Which multiple of 0 was the answer?
No, it was slightly better.
Oh, good.
1.
3.
Oh, wow.
Which is why
goodness.
we're such a vibrant club. No, yeah.
It's quite interesting because the president at my club actually gave the link to my article in the latest one, and sent it to everybody.
Right.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it was even worse because getting this new corporate on board, there are opticians, which obviously gives an idea. But huge concern that these members are not going to be coming to the club. And I thought your article dealt with that beautifully, Joy, but
Did my best.
if they don't read it, they aren't going to know, are they?
No, did my best.
So if Anne's not here, what do we need to then to start getting together for the pilot from her point of view? I think, Ken, she was looking for you to give some suggestions of where it should be held and things, and then she'll deal with them.
Okay. East end of Edinburgh, west end of Edinburgh, somewhere. Everybody should be in striking distance of the west end of Edinburgh. And maybe even just outside on the outskirts of Edinburgh.
So is that, give me some names.
I was going to say, can you pinpoint
where is it from Waverley Station?
exactly?
Oh, well,
where is it from Alma?
I was thinking about somewhere along the tram. So there's a tram line runs from Waverley out to the airport, and the airport's on the west side of Edinburgh.
Okay.
And the motorway link comes to within 2 miles of the airport on the west side. So it could be Blackburn's just slightly further out, but that would make it difficult for us. But we're not the important ones in all of that. We could easily get there. Some of the airport facilities, if they're not daft prices, and if they had conference facilities. The Dream Place is very expensive, so we won't go there. Dalmahoy Golf Club do it, and sometimes their rates can be good. And
I know Dalmahoy very well. We've had district conferences there more than once. Very good, very, very good.
Yeah,
but expensive and not the easiest of places to get to by public transport.
Impossible's the word.
Exactly. I was trying to be polite, Ken.
I think that rules that one out then.
Yeah.
Don't keep whetting our appetites for really nice ones and then saying, but you can't get there.
Well, I just before anybody else threw it in, I thought there are a couple of places on the west end of Edinburgh going out. When were we doing this again? It's after the tattoo, so that's not so bad, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
So where are you thinking of, Ken?
So the dates that I've got in my diary are
I've just sent through the date paper.
16th, 17th of September we were thinking of.
Monday 16th, Tuesday 17th. They're the dates I'm keeping for this year.
Yeah, me too.
And that's what I've got on the.
Yeah.
So if I was looking out the west end of Edinburgh, I'm just pulling up a map.
To be honest, Ken, in lots of ways, I don't care. You just tell me where I'll go and I'll go.
Yeah. Okay, I'll look at that.
And chat it over with Anne, because I know she's very much involved with the National Trust at the moment, but she arranges exhibitions, I think, still, and this sort of thing. So she might have some special rates at, I don't know.
Yeah, and I was wondering if, you know, one of the universities might, like Napier University, which is out, it's on the edge of the ring road going round. If they had facility, I know they've got conference facilities. Even better if they had accommodation facilities. So I've been in there before, but not staying.
But
They may not have accommodation facilities as it's in the middle of term time.
Well,
or if they have, it's rather worrying.
Will Napier University be back? Yeah, because it was like a polytechnic converted, so some of them could easily be in term time, Joy.
Yeah.
I'll look at that. I'll come up with some suggestions. And you say Anne's got some links anyway.
I think you will have a much more fruitful conversation with Anne than you'll have with Joy.
Yeah, I'll have a look at that.
So the other thing is that we want to add on an extra half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what would be extremely helpful to me is if we know roughly what time we're starting and finishing on those days, so that we know how many nights accommodation we're going to require, and how long we're going to be away.
Yeah.
That will be extremely helpful to have some idea of that today.
I'm guessing really that we'll certainly I'm going to need, unless I come up on the sleeper. That's an idea.
We had talked about the Monday afternoon, the Tuesday morning, and the Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
So we're not planning to be arriving on the Sunday.
That's what we talked of last
Okay,
night.
so the actual work is Monday PM,
Yeah.
Tuesday AM, and Tuesday PM. So we'd arrive on the Monday by lunchtime and stay Monday night.
And if you can get home on the Tuesday, that's fine.
Right.
But for those that live, I mean, the train's going down the East Coast. Do the East Coast LNER cover you, Chris?
Yes.
Okay. And if it finishes at sensible time, I can get north, so it's not an issue in the trains.
What do you call a sensible time? 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock's more than fine.
Yeah, because then we've got to get from wherever this place is to Waverley, and then Chris has got to get home. So
yeah.
If it's, I'm to be honest, I'm still a little bit concerned that Nitesh is so worried about the cost. Because there's a little bit of me that's sitting here and thinking, well, what else are you going to spend it on? That is more relevant.
Nitesh is very worried about the cost relating to the impact. And are we going to get data from this that is really going to be helpful in terms of driving membership and increasing membership numbers and stemming the retention issue that we have? Yeah. So I think he's just as concerned about the worthwhileness of people spending their good time on this as he is about the money.
That makes sense.
It does, yeah. But I've just won't go there.
Nitesh, I think, is very much a quantitative being, isn't he? Am I wrong with that? I mean, I think a lot of that's going to come out of this is more qualitative side in terms of research.
I think you're right.
I would hope a bit of both, to be honest.
I think both. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sure we will
almost.
have to have some quantitative data to take to the board. Otherwise, the board
We're
will
wasting
again
our time.
wonder what this is about. But
Yeah.
But I think there's an awful lot of sort of subtle nuances and qualitative data around all of this, which is very important, and it's difficult to articulate it, but I still think it's very important. And I think Nitesh probably is having a hard time getting his mind around that. He wants to see, he wants to see charts and stats and Excel spreadsheets and so on and so forth that can then be taken forward into his dashboard for membership development and recruitment and retention.
And there will be qualitative things coming out of it with just getting people on board and them owning it
Exactly.
and everything around that.
Exactly.
And that's the bit I think he finds difficult.
Definitely. I totally agree. Nitesh is driven by my understanding of Nitesh, and particularly what he's expecting from the DGs this year. At the very next meeting, he wants to dive into figures and, since the beginning of the year, what has every district gained and what's every district lost and so on and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But I think he is driven by quantitative data.
133 this morning across GB&I gains. So the gains from the 1st of July this morning is 133.
Great.
New members.
Yes, but that's all clubs holding people back till the 1st of July to avoid paying subs last year.
Yeah. Good.
Well, it's not really, is it? Because multiply that still doesn't get us very close.
No, but there's always an initial surge at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
The one thing that was surprising was, for me, the April increase was way down compared with previous years.
Right.
Because you're always, April's usually the highest month of gain.
Right.
You see, all this sort of thing, I think, will mean a lot to him.
Yeah.
When you started the conversation with 47% of new joiners leave.
David fell off his seat.
He did. He had no idea, which surprises me because he's an entrepreneur. I would have thought, that's the sort of thing he would have been down to getting you to send to him each time, as it were. But yeah. And
I don't know if he was in the room when we had the DGEs, DGNs in Warwick. Because I remember Steve and I put up three numbers: the 33,000, 11,000 and 52,000.
Yeah.
And we actually played on that, and we put up the picture of the turnstile.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your tin, which did not do what it said on it.
The tin of beans.
The test was that. The test was that.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. But I think the conversation about how we're going to present the data which emerges from this is a very important one. And we need to have that conversation a bit further down the line.
Yeah.
I think we almost would be better off if we could staying the three of us immediately after that second day.
I wondered about that. That's partly why I was asking about the logistics.
Yeah. And I'm with you, Joy. I think he will be expecting something immediately. I think you keep your powder dry, or we keep our powder dry on the idea of the SWAT teams, because I all more or less had sort of floated that with Amanda as well, to get her on board.
Amanda's seen that because she's seen my draft plan.
Well,
I was going to make a suggestion that if we could, we stayed for the extra night to do this debriefing and indeed plan that what we're going to do with this data. It is so important.
That's what I feel.
This whole thing either falls or it doesn't on what comes out of this pilot. And if we all get onto a train relatively tired at 6 o'clock in the evening on the Tuesday, it's going to fall. And I wouldn't have been able to do this because I was going straight to board meeting, but the board has now been shifted until the week after. So in fact, I could now stay on the Tuesday night if that's helpful. But I think we really should get together and analyze what has come out of this and how we're going to present it while it's all still very fresh in our minds. And to keep the three of us an extra night in Edinburgh, okay, it's a few £100, but it's not going to break the bank.
No.
Well, that's exactly my feeling. You know, we could be penny pinching and then ruining the whole
Exactly.
thing.
And then what do? We come back and we have a Zoom meeting like this, which is all terribly nice. It's lovely, but it's not the same as being in the same room as each other and being able to go through stuff that's still fresh in our minds.
My diary is okay for that.
So yeah, so we could do that on the Tuesday evening / Wednesday morning, and then leave late morning lunchtime-ish on the Wednesday, which is a more civilized time for Chris to get back. And I think well, I've said it, but I think to do the analysis of this and talk about presentation of the data is so important while it's fresh in our minds.
Well, that's the feeling of all of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got nothing on the
Wednesday the 18th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will extend the day, but the pilot by a day for myself.
I've got a call with Amanda at 9. But that'll be 40 minutes, usually.
That'll be fine because Joy and I can have a nice breakfast.
You can come for a run with me, Chris.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's an absolute blessing that this board meeting's got shifted by a week, because otherwise we'd be straight from this literally into board with no time to reflect on what we're going to say to the board.
So when's the board been moved to?
It was on the, sorry, I just tell this person I'm not remembering.
26th. I'm just looking at it. The GB&I calendar says the 26th.
What the board was to have been on the 19th. It's now on the 26th.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
It was just changed 2 days ago. So it does mean that we've got time to do this discussion and analysis of whatever we're going to do, and then we've got a week before board meeting to get our ducks in a row and present it.
Well, you'll be the one presenting.
That's why I'm glad we've got time to get our ducks. I would not have wanted to come straight back from Edinburgh down to Ulster and have to talk about it before we've had time for the three of us to discuss all this. So I
think that's essential.
It's an absolute blessing that this board meeting, the reason the board meeting shifted itself is because King's Court is full. There's no accommodation. So it's the next week, so that's fine.
So we need to tell Antonia that we need it on the board agenda.
Yes, unless Nitesh has already put it there. Nitesh is expecting this to be discussed on the 15th of August. Oh, you mean the agenda for the 26th of September?
Yes.
Oh yes. It's got to be on the 15th. It's got to be on the 15th of August first.
Yeah, but that's not a face-to-face, is it?
No. But it's still vital because it'll give us the go-ahead to do this famous pilot.
Well, I hope it is famous and not infamous. I think that's really what I was thinking about, Ken. So are you okay to be with, to talk to Anne?
Me, yes. No worries. She just needs to, if Anne lets me know when she's available, we'll slot it in.
Okay. And if you want me there, I'm happy to come, but I don't think I'm going to be very useful. The only thing I suppose I might be useful for is what we want the rooms to look like.
Which will she want to go and visit?
Depends whether it's one she knows anyway.
Say that again.
It depends whether it's one that she knows anyway,
Okay.
or at least we can look it up on the screen, can't we? On the hotel site. Nothing can be worse than Manchester.
I can be in the middle of Edinburgh by 10:30. They're going to change the trains on me. There's ScotRail are on an emergency service. I used to be able to get into Edinburgh just after 9:30.
But if I did the sleeper, that would probably be safe for me. I sent those two emails. I sent that email across to you. I'm just wondering if we need to go through that a bit more.
Timings for the day and venues, it's called. Just come.
As I say, apologies, I was too long in the garden. Do you want to put it on the screen, Ken?
What was that?
The paper that we did on timings for the day, etc. Because I thought, but those were, I've sent two documents through, and I think those are the two we just need to put together today.
Have you got it there? Or shall I go and find it?
I sent it to you literally about
Oh, okay.
2:25. It's got start at 9:30. So is that?
That's because that's the breakfast one. But
the outline one. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's two documents, Chris. There's the format for visits. Is it that one? Let me just open it and see it. Yeah, right, got it.
Because I also think that will give us a focus for what it is that we want to get out of it, because that was
You see that, yeah?
Yeah. Because are those actually the questions we want to be asking for the data that we want to be able to give Nitesh? That's really what I thought we would be looking at.
So one of the things we talked of was kind of turning one of the questions round into what could stop you and what help would you need?
Yep.
Yeah. So that.
I think I did on that one.
Yeah. So 10:40. Looking to. Come on, behave. It's not doing.
Yeah, 10:40 is who can help.
I think that who can help you is, I think there's a piece in the middle before that says, what could stop you and who could help you past that?
I was trying to keep positive at the beginning.
No, and I agree with that. I think that will drive more about what Nitesh wants. You know, the what could stop you, what could get in the way, or what you could turn the question round, but ask that type of question. What help? What or whose help do you need to make this work? So you're asking the question in a positive sense.
So is that instead of what is the thing you would most like to change about your club?
No, I would leave that.
Okay.
And the next one would be what so there's who can help you, what and or who can help you, or what support do you need to make that happen. And it's so the selection of ideas.
Actually, Ken, I think that's a really good idea, because if we're making it half an hour longer, that's such a critical one. I think that's the one that we need to give them more time to.
And that's what's going to give us a lot of the key data for Nitesh.
Yeah. It would be good if we could have, when do we have the coffee break? Because it would be good to have that discussion over coffee.
10:15, yeah.
Yeah.
So we can move that around a little bit.
Yeah, I think
you could almost put the 10:30 before that coffee time.
I think absolutely.
And that way you can have the discussion, and then you can get the traction out of this one.
Yeah. And that'll give them a chance. So yeah.
And if we're starting at 9:30, you know, moving the coffee out by 15 minutes is not an issue.
No. Giving them a chance to chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we can focus the chat before they go there.
Kenneth, we do want to get some new stuff out of this.
Yeah.
So the timings I put on there obviously are for the morning, but
yeah.
They work too when we do it for the afternoon and the
yeah. Now, what's really good about the timing of this, as long as Amanda agrees, I'll have the membership leads the week before.
Right.
Oh, sorry. Is it the week before? The 11th, anyway.
And that will help how?
Say that again.
How will that?
Well, it'll be parallel data that we'll get out of it. It'll be whether it's confirmation or whatever. So there's kind of reinforcement sitting in it. Yeah, so we're targeting that on the 11th of September.
You're targeting what?
The membership leads face-to-face on what should be in their plan. And obviously one of the things is what help are they going to need to deliver it as well. So although Nitesh doesn't know that, anything that comes out of that we could also feed into here.
Yeah, that's good. And the who can help is very much who and what.
Yeah, who and what.
I'm forever being asked for resources for corporate membership, you know, leaflets and stuff to give to businesses. So I think what is very important as well as who.
I almost wish it was the other way around, Ken, that you were seeing your team afterwards, because then we could.
I can't get that to work.
No. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because I genuinely believe that the clubs have this it won't work cloud hanging over them.
Yeah, I'm quite sure. And that's going to be so important and kind of the intro for this.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's right. And there are a number of clubs I can think of where it isn't actually important. We're quite happy as we are. Thank you very much. Sleep.
That's
sleep.
the bit that's after that, isn't it? Which is talking about North Star, etc.
Yeah. But sleepwalking into extinction, to use Stephanie's phrase, is only too common, I'm afraid.
There was I can't remember if it was a video, what it was going about 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was during COVID actually, where the chap found out about Rotary by going into the library, of how this enormously vital club, this organisation which had its, I mean, a lot of people are absolutely stunned to know that we've still got an office in the UN. You know, we don't boast enough.
We don't.
I mean, funnily enough, I know how important that is, because I've got another, the second person who is joining. That's what actually she was blown away with. An organisation that was that important. I said yes.
Have you told them who wrote the constitution for the UN?
I didn't go down to that detail, but I did then go into a global grant.
Yeah.
And you know, that for me, if we could get people to feel more engaged with Rotary International, is the biggest thing that we could get out of this.
Always. Because you know what I use is, my wife Mary wouldn't join Rotary until she went to convention.
Yes, no, I think that's a very expensive way of Rotary. I think I actually said that to Mary.
Far cheaper way is how I went about it. If you want to see me, dear, join Rotary.
I love it.
So if somebody asks me, what about Rotary? Tell me, and I just say it's the best thing I've ever done. And somebody says, "What'd your wife say about that?" I says, "Well, when I retired, she says, 'Don't you dare get under my feet,' so it's okay."
I think that's been really useful, giving them a chance to talk about that more over coffee.
Shall I take this off?
Yeah, if we have another quick look at, because I think that's there or thereabouts.
Yeah.
It was quite funny what Amanda said about it. She just said, "This is really well planned," but then I'd expect that.
The other thing we could do before the board is what's in it for me if I come along to this, so that we're ready to press the button once the board says yes. Because we know who we're inviting, we know which clubs we're inviting.
Yeah, I think there's an urgency to get it into the people's diary.
Yeah.
Because
sorry, on you go.
No, please. I was just going to say, I think we need to be set to go on August the 16th or whatever. So that still gives people just slightly under a month to get organised.
Yeah, because after the board's now.
The board's 15th of August.
Right.
I think we have to assume it's going ahead.
I agree.
I don't think we have to do the bookings or anything. No. But we need to have a really good idea what they are.
I think, yeah, absolutely. I think we need to have identified where it's going to be, so we know exactly where it's going to be. We need to have identified which people are going to be invited, so that we can press the button, book our train fares or whatever on the 16th of August.
Yeah, and more importantly, that we are ready to talk to South Scotland about it. Because otherwise it's a nonsense. In fact, I mean, who's the DG for South
David that can't spell David.
David,
Oh yes, don't go. Yes,
I've learned how to spell it just about. Yeah.
Hey,
it's Gaelic, not Welsh.
no, it's Gaelic.
Ah, well, I know a little bit of Gaelic, but yeah.
D-A-I-V-A.
Actually, David would be really good.
Yeah.
Can I just say, at the DG forum, I didn't want, and Chris knows this, but I haven't told him. At the DG forum, I wanted to let them know this pilot was likely to be happening, because the last thing we want is DG saying no one's told us anything about this and what's happening and nobody's consulting us, etc., etc. So Nitesh was there. And what we said was that this pilot was likely to be happening, but it had to get the blessing of the board. And all they know is it's likely to be in southern Scotland in September. And we will give them feedback as and when. But I also have to say that David wasn't there, so he won't know anything at all about this. I mean, it's in the, I do detailed notes, but he might or might not have read them from the meeting.
David's actually that district just stepped out of the cluster plan.
Has it?
Project, yeah.
Has it really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I just got a note from my DG this morning that
That's really significant.
From Brian.
yeah, I got a note from Brian this morning.
That is really interesting.
Just let me know. He couldn't get it through the council, the continuity team, and
that is really, really significant. It's a huge tick for us if we can get them to come on board.
Yeah, and it was about allocating budget for it, and there's something far wrong because Duncan, Gail, and myself, we all put budget in that was carried over. So the budget had been approved previously, so something far wrong.
So when you say they've come out of it, this is in terms of multi-district face-to-face gatherings?
Project, yeah, the cluster project.
The project, oh, right.
Not the cluster project.
Right, okay.
Sorry, not out the cluster, but no, out the cluster project.
Right, that makes
yes,
sense.
I thought they were doing UDI.
Yeah. So it's the cluster project, and this cluster project is one that's been approved by the board?
No, it was going to go in this month.
Right, it was going to the end of August deadline, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And what was it, Ken? Because I've not worked on that one.
It was using a PR firm for expanding the name of Rotary, particularly. I've not been in the detail in using a PR company in Edinburgh, and Ireland used one already, but it's so it wasn't the it wasn't the project that Amanda did recently down in the West Midlands. It was more enhancing the name of Rotary and letting people know what Rotary is all about. But so the Ireland one's a lot of that's in the past, and this was all about so what's in the future.
Okay,
interesting, right?
So
Anne came up, just thinking about the continuity team. Anne came up to me immediately. I finished the presentation to the board, and said, "When can you come and tell the DGs about the DGNs about that?" Which are now, of course, the DGEs. My feeling, and Joy and I spoke a little bit about it, is that we'd just be open with them to say that we are looking at their cluster. If it's approved by the board, they will be the first pilot. Thank you very much for your help. Have you got any questions? I think it's much more than that.
No, that's fine. Chris and I have discussed this, and I suggested we do not go into detail or give any indication that this may be rolled out across the other clusters until we know how the board responds to the data we're going to collect in September.
And I was asked not to share this with the rest of my team when we were together last week. Just too early. Yeah, Amanda.
Yeah, no, I think she's absolutely right. I think we are all right on this.
Yeah. So I've actually got an invitation to speak at the forum later this month as membership lead.
Which forum? The DGE forum?
The one Aunt Sutcliffe invited me to.
Yeah, that's the DGE forum. Yeah.
It was, yeah, yes, it's a DG 25-26 forum.
That's right. The present DGEs. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll need to speak to them and see which is one covered. So.
That's very good. When I was in that position, DGEs and DGNs, well, the first thing I did when I was DGN was to invite all of the SAT leads to come to a forum, so that not just to say what you're, what you're doing, but just to introduce the SAT leads so that they know who you are.
Yeah,
I think that's a very good idea.
So each of the SAT leads have got different dates.
Good.
So Ken, when are you doing it?
On the 27th of this month. So Tuesday the 27th.
That's after the 15th of August. I wonder if that's too late. If we're going to be having them as pilot.
Well, if they've got any questions about it, we can deal with it, because it will be too late to say, and this is about to happen.
Well, my feeling is we need to get to the South Scotland before.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the only continuity team that need to know about this sooner rather than later is the district that impact on Southern Scotland.
Yeah. So is Anne part of that?
No. David Wallace is the DG.
And the DGE is
Brenda
Wall.
Brenda, who has been going to be DG for a long time.
She was going to be DG, but then with the amalgamation and reorganisation of Scotland, she stood back for a year, and David Wallace took up the DG position.
Yeah, because David was DGE of 1230 at the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, Brenda, bless her. I think I've had her to more training events than anybody else.
With or without her goats. Every time she's been on a Zoom meeting, there's been goats in the background.
She was very, very IT frightened when she first came.
Yeah, she was. I remember that.
I think she's moved on a lot since then.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when we start thinking about this group, what it's going to be like.
The one person that could be a negative in that group could be Narek. My friend
Narek. Oh.
If he forms an opinion that's
I'm not sure if I'd have known the personnel involved in this, Ken. This is the one I would have said we'll go for. But that says a lot, doesn't it? Gosh, if we got, I mean, Narek's Narek, isn't he? He's a one-off. Right. So I think what we've just said is we ought to be talking to them earlier.
17th. It's the 16th, you say, the board?
15th is the board, Thursday 15th.
Okay, so let me change that to 16th then.
Yeah, I think on Friday the 16th, we are in a position to inform the continuity team of Southern Scotland, book accommodation. I mean, accommodation for the event, and sort out our own personal travel arrangements. And finalize the program, the timings of the program.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're about that stage, aren't we?
I think we are.
I don't think there's a lot more.
Yeah.
actually before then.
Yeah.
So in terms of Anne,
What are you thinking?
DGEs, no. I think it would be useful just to give Anne personally a heads up.
Which Anne?
Which Anne are we talking about, Chris? Anne Sutcliffe or the other Anne?
Anne Sutcliffe.
What? Why do we need? I mean, I have told the DGs, but not the DGEs.
No, that's what I'm saying. I wonder if we just ought to give her a heads up.
I see.
Else,
I see.
so that it doesn't, particularly.
Well, she was at the last board meeting when you did the presentation.
Yeah, and she literally came up to me and said, "When are you going to? Can I tell them?"
So I mean, I think we're okay there because, as I say, I mean, I was very vague with the district governors. I just said that we were likely to be conducting a pilot study in one district, which is going to be Southern Scotland, on this very, very important.
I didn't realise. Yeah, I didn't realise you'd actually said Southern Scotland. So
that was to the DGs. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, nobody said, wow, you can't do this, or this is terrible, or, this is, I mean, there just wasn't any feedback from it. It was really a very brief item, just so that they can't come back and say, nobody told us that this was happening.
Well, that's really what I'm feeling about Anne.
But she's on the board anyway, isn't she? So she does know.
Yeah, she's on the board. So she'll be there on the
yes and no, Ken, given the write-up that came following it, the presentation. No, she got it immediately. If that's okay, I'm going to give her a phone.
That I have no problem with that at all, but I don't think there's any need for all the DGEs to be briefed, because we don't want them to know far more than the DGs. It's there's some protocol here. I don't want her to think that this is an item she's got to have a major substantial item on an agenda of a DGE.
Okay, I understand what you're feeling.
Yeah, I was very, very cautious at the DG forum because of Nitesh's slight hesitations on this.
Yeah. Okay. It's just if we're going to be getting these people on board on the Friday the 16th.
Anne will be on board with this at the board meeting. I've no doubt about that.
So Friday the 16th, we're going to try to get who on board?
1320. And Anne's on board anyway. DGs are aware to an extent. So that's it, isn't it?
Well, how about actually preparing them for which clubs we're going to be writing to and what we're doing with what? I think if it's been agreed by the board, and Anne, quite as you say, Joy, quite rightly, Anne will be there.
Yeah.
To expect them to be ready for something on the 11th of September, which is only a month.
Exactly.
I think we need to actually be telling that continuity team what we've got in mind.
I agree.
On the 16th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I think we're all agreed that time is very tight.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really impinge on the rest of the district governors or any of the DGEs other than Southern Scotland for quite some time after that.
Because he'll go to the September board, Nitesh will be happy, he'll say go ahead, and we'll target the next one.
Because in my mind, Ken, the ones that are going to be the ones that need the most help don't necessarily fit into one size category, do they?
No.
So the fact that we've got the small groups coming, there may be within there some really exciting people who want to get on and get it and will be change makers. Perhaps not as likely that in that group as there should be in the large groups.
Could easily be. In fact, there's one of the outputs is who are the change makers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And change makers was something I was talking about with Amanda because, well, and Nitesh, I mean, that's what we need is change makers to go in there and do something. There's absolutely no point at all us doing this unless people are going to literally go in there and identify some change makers. And I'm having lunch with a change maker in our district very shortly. Do we need to have a thought in our minds about who's going to be the next one using the same criteria?
Do you want a large, so do you want a large district or a small, i.e. few number of members or large number of members? So 1320 is one of the larger ones.
We're going to be inviting 20 small clubs and 20 large clubs and 20 medium clubs, aren't we?
Was it not 8, 8 and 8 or something? Times 2.
Yeah.
So 2 people from each. Is that what we had?
Something like that, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it in total it's 60 for the 3 events, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So what I'm saying is, do we need to identify which is the next
district
that we will be using on using the same criteria?
The big question is which one needs most help then after that? And there's a couple of districts who are,
yeah.
If we hadn't been in the pilot, would have been redistricted.
Yeah, we're one of them. 10:30.
You're not the worst yet.
Getting on for it. I'm doing my best.
I hope that's not, I'm doing my best to get redistricted.
I am doing my best to save this district. I don't do anything else.
Because that's one of the other things that we need to look at, isn't it? Is okay, we've done it with the worst performing district and we call that cluster. So we're not going to go into the same cluster again.
Is there value in going to the other end of the country?
Which is the worst performing one is in the Midlands, isn't it?
1060 is the worst.
And that is
Birmingham.
Yeah, I thought so. The Midlands, yes.
Which to me seems like the obvious one to do next.
I agree. I totally agree. Yeah.
Because then we're using the same criteria.
Yeah.
We're probably going to have more influence of conurbation than there is in South Scotland.
Yeah.
But to use our earliest conversation of are we doing quantitative or qualitative analysis, I think this needs to be done properly in terms of the criteria we're using each time.
Oh, it's got to be consistent in terms of the analysis criteria. That's absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let me just share. I'm just trying to open some data I got in the last hour. Oh, come on, behave. I just got the Brian King report through, which tells us, where is it? Yes.
By the way, foundation is not in a part of the Zone 8 redistricting.
Oh, Brian King's done the dirty on me. He's gone and given it for each district, gone to Rotary Club Central. He normally sends out a report that says, here's everybody to the membership lead. See if I can get just dig it.
I'm just thinking of the questions that Nitesh will ask. He'll want
Sure.
to know why we chose that place. He'll want to know who the next ones are if we're going to be doing this
So
after the pilot. At least I would if I was him.
The most important question he'll ask is, why are we replicating it in a different district? Which one? And how is that going to enhance what we have derived from the first one?
Because we are looking at the variations according to the
Oh yeah, I know the answer, but Nitesh will want to know what the value is in
so
some more money on it.
the big answer is 1320 is a very diverse district. It's a large area. It's a huge combination of rural and urban. And whereas if you pick Birmingham, then you're very much into urban communities. For example, if you pick 1060.
So one of the things that'd be interesting there is to compare whether in fact the small, the medium and the large clubs have common problems, or whether in fact because it's an urban conurbation they're going to be different.
I'll need to have a look and make sure I've picked enough. No, I did pick kind of rural and urban. So I picked city and I picked others when I did that, and I picked it on size, and I picked it on, what was the third one? Can't remember the third one. I looked at 3 different things. My Rotary is just.
I think you wrote. I think we actually put it in the submission.
We did.
Yeah,
we did.
I just don't want us to appear that we don't have the belief that this will go through and it will give us good data, and it can only give us good data if we do it more than once. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah. And as in, there won't be a diversity of data.
Yeah. We need to find out what the commonality is and what, but it's also important to know.
I think how I would describe it is, the first one is absolutely essential to demonstrate that we can get data that are informative and helpful to the process that we are trying to achieve. And so having got that data, which is relevant and absolutely really illuminative of what we're trying to do, then the next obvious stage is we need data from diversities of geographical areas to build on that.
Thank you, Prof.
I mean, but do you agree?
No, I totally agree with you. You just put it much better.
No, not at all. But I think that's what we are doing. We are showing that we are getting valid data from this, and isn't this wonderful? And it's all very positive, and we can use this. But we need now to, as I've just said, to get a similar range of data from different geographical areas with different diverse backgrounds, etc.
Yeah, and also that we are able to, each time we do another pilot, what we won't call them pilot, but each time we do one, we are listening to them. And that, I think, is the huge thing that is really important.
Yeah, and Nitesh's next question will be, thanks, Chris, thanks, Ken, thanks, Joy. You've got some really rich data here. I accept that it's valuable data. And, you want to go to Birmingham and you want to go to Land's End and et cetera, and collect more data. and I accept that there's going to be a tremendous range of rich data. What are you going to do with it? That's the next big question.
Well, this
That'll
is
be in his minds as well.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's where we have the SWOT teams and the answers for that.
Yeah.
But that was one of the hardest things that when we did the presentation. That's why I kept asking you, was it okay? Because they can't. I don't think we can underestimate how important it is, and that's why we're doing it by cluster. That the clubs get a sight of what Rotary International is like, and that they feel re-energized. Because if we're not doing that, then the revolving door is going to continue.
And we need to keep coming back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bit that Nitesh hasn't got yet.
And I think that's the value also of us sitting down on the Tuesday night.
Yeah, I do. I think that's enormously important. Because between just the three of us, the quality of the leaders in there, in that particular district,
We hear you. We hear you.
Yeah.
are different to some other leaders. Yeah.
Rotary Club Central's not playing let me in and have a look.
Well, don't worry, Ken, because I think each time we have these conversations, I feel more comfortable. And it's really good to have, actually, to be honest, in my mind, it's not Nitesh, it's Heather.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought it was really interesting that she joined the conversation on WhatsApp.
Mm.
I was wondering how that happened.
Well, I put her in. I put her
Okay.
as part of it right from the beginning because I knew, in fact, I think we had the conversation straight off.
Yeah.
That I knew Heather would be anti. And I am being very naughty. I'm also using that as an opportunity to remind her that we're still here.
Good. Good.
So yeah, we have a cunning plan.
Good.
Okay.
So
I
next,
wonder if Nitesh knows how much money we pay on training.
we pay who?
Well, exactly. That the DGNN or the DGN meeting. When was it? Was it? Well, yeah, it was at the end. So they were DGNN. That can't have been cheap. I know it was done at Ulster. But if Bob hadn't turned up, it would have been an interesting meeting. Debbie shared her curriculum with me.
Mm. Right, so the next stage of all of this is August the 15th.
Do we need to get together again before that to
Yeah, I think so.
finalize things?
And make sure that Anne can come. And can you get in touch with her?
Yeah, I'll give it a buzz.
Yeah.
I've emailed her last night and this morning about a date for something totally separate from this, and she hasn't replied. So I don't know whether she's not looking at her emails or.
Well, she sent that email to me.
When
today.
was that, Chris? Today?
Yesterday.
All right. I emailed her last night. Debbie
Well,
Hodge
then, of course, I did have breakfast with her.
Debbie Hodge wants a date for meeting with the DGs and the DGEs. I sent some dates last night and she didn't reply, so I emailed her again this morning and nothing at the moment.
So is there value in us getting together next Friday on the basis the board's the week after?
Yeah. I think now, I mean, I don't want to do an overkill on this, but there's so much resting on it now and the time is getting short.
Yeah, I can do an hour next Friday afternoon, but I wouldn't be able to do an hour and a half.
What time would be suitable?
I can do 2 o'clock or 2:30 for an hour. I've got 2 other meetings after that next Friday.
Chris?
Yep.
Okay.
We say 2?
Yeah. Right, I'll drop a note after this. And I'll include on 1 hour.
That would be great.
Yeah, I think so, because we can stop talking about what we're going to do. We can now start talking about what we want to collect.
I think there are, yeah, I think it'd be really helpful at that meeting if we could finalize the logistics and have a good idea of where this is all going to be. And I know it can't be booked until after board, but we could maybe have another word about logistics. And then I think to fine tune what exactly is going to come out of this, so I can talk to the board about the kind of data we're hoping to collect and where that might be leading us.
Yeah, I can understand that. That's
I would like the board to
your
say,
requirements, Joy, I feel need to be our agenda. Let's put it that way.
well, I would very much like the board to say yes, because otherwise I shall feel a complete and utter personal failure.
Oh, you're not that.
So are you Chris Hollybank at whatever?
I am. The one I use now, Ken, is Davies Chris Rotary at gmail.com. But obviously the other one's my personal address, so
Okay.
you can use that.
I'll just take the other one off. I've got both sitting here in the system. Right, I've sent it out and I've included on.
Brilliant, thank you. And you'll send out the link again, will you, Ken, please?
It's done.
Brilliant.
Oh, so he has. Look at this.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Well done. That's great.
I just think we, as the three of us, need to be really sharp on what it is we all think we're doing. And I think that's been the case actually more or less ever since the beginning, but it's another thing convincing other people.
Okay. Covered.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed.
Have a good weekend.
And you too.